Jujutsu Kaisen is one of the most popular shonen anime right now, and as there is soon going to be a fourth season, I decided to rate every arc in the previous seasons of JJK. Starting with the very first one, the Cursed Child arc, also known as Jujutsu Kaisen 0. This arc follows Yuta Okatsu, a kid haunted by the powerful, cursed spirit of his childhood friend, Rika. Unlike Yuji, Yuta starts his story completely broken and isolated, making him one of the most relatable protagonists in the series. What makes this arc great is how quickly it introduces the world of Jujutsu sorcery while still giving us an emotional story. Yuta's growth from a scared teenager into someone willing to fight for his friends is genuinely satisfying. We also get our first real look at characters like Gojo, Maki, Panda, and Inumaki. And then there's Suguru Geto, one of the best villains in the entire series. His clash with Yuta gives the arc a strong finale and sets up a lot of the story that comes later. It's a good 7.5 out of 10 arc in my opinion. The reason I'm not rating it higher is because it's much shorter than the main series. Some characters don't get enough screen time and the power system isn't as fleshed out yet. Still, for a prequel, this arc does almost everything right. Great emotions, a memorable villain, and an amazing ending. Now, we have the introduction arc, the arc that introduced us to the world of curses, sorcerers, and one of the most chaotic protagonists in modern shonen anime. The story begins with Yuji Itadori, a seemingly normal high school student with superhuman physical abilities. Despite his strength, he spends most of his time hanging out with the occult club instead of joining a sports team. But his normal life quickly falls apart when a cursed object, a finger belonging to the king of curses, Ryomen Sukuna, attracts dangerous spirits to his school. To save his friends, Yuji does something absolutely insane. He eats the finger, and just like that, he becomes the vessel of the strongest curse in history. This arc does a great job of introducing the main cast. We meet Megumi Fushiguro, the serious sorcerer sent to retrieve Sukuna's finger, and of course, Satoru Gojo, whose confidence and personality immediately make him stand out from every other character. One of the strongest moments in the arc is Yuji's conversation with his grandfather before his death. His final words about helping others become the foundation of Yuji's entire character, and give him a purpose beyond simply fighting curses. The action itself is fairly simple compared to later arcs, but that's expected. The arc's job is to introduce the world, explain the power system, and make us care about the characters. And for the most part, it succeeds. While it isn't the most exciting or emotional arc in the series, it lays the groundwork for everything that comes later and gives us one of the most memorable first episodes in modern anime. Overall, I'm giving the introduction arc a 6 out of 10. A solid start that introduces the world effectively, even if later arcs completely overshadow it. Now let's move on to the next arc. Coming in at number 2, we have the Cursed Womb arc, and honestly, this is where JJK starts showing what kind of series it wants to be. After Yuji becomes Sukuna's vessel, he joins Tokyo Jujutsu High and is immediately thrown into a real mission alongside Megumi and Nobara. Their objective seems simple at first: rescue survivors trapped inside a cursed detention center. But then everything goes horribly wrong. The trio quickly realizes that the curse inside isn't something they can handle. This is our first introduction to a special grade curse, a threat so powerful that even trained sorcerers struggle against it. What makes this arc memorable isn't the action, it's the shock factor. Up until this point, many viewers expected JJK to follow a typical shonen formula where the main cast always survives through friendship and determination. Instead, the arc brutally reminds us that this world is unfair and deadly. Yuji is completely outmatched and is forced to rely on Sukuna. What follows is one of the most iconic moments in early JJK history when Sukuna casually destroys the special grade and then rips out Yuji's heart just because he can. And for the first time, the main character actually dies. At least, for a while. The arc also gives us some great characterization for Megumi. We see his willingness to risk everything, and we get hints that he's hiding far more potential than he lets on. While the arc is relatively short and doesn't have the emotional weight of later arcs, it succeeds at establishing the danger of the JJK world and showing that nobody is truly safe. Overall, the Cursed Womb arc gets a 6.5 out of 10 from me. It's not one of the best arcs in the series, but it's the first arc that made fans realize Jujutsu Kaisen was playing by different rules. And that's my ranking. Let's move on to the next arc. Now, there is a short training arc which happens right after Yuji's death, and we see all of the characters preparing for the Kyoto Goodwill event. The main highlight was the fight between Gojo and Jogo, in which we saw Gojo showing his infinity and making light work of Jogo. In this arc, we also learned about domain expansions, as it is described as the pinnacle of sorcery. This arc was okay in my opinion, and I would say it was better than many other training arcs I have seen, but didn't have much to offer, but wasn't boring either. I will give it a 6.8 out of 10. Next up, we have the Versus Mahito arc. This is the arc where Jujutsu Kaisen truly starts to shine. After being separated from the main story for a while, we follow Kento Nanami, one of the most beloved characters in the series. Unlike most sorcerers, Nanami treats his job like an actual office worker, making him a refreshing addition to the cast. But the real star of this arc is Mahito. Before this point, most curses were just monsters to be defeated. Mahito changes that completely. He's intelligent, curious, cruel, and perhaps most importantly, he genuinely enjoys human suffering. His cursed technique, idol transfiguration, is horrifying. With a single touch, he can reshape a person's soul and body, turning ordinary humans into twisted monsters. This arc also gives us one of the darkest moments in early JJK when Junpei's story reaches its tragic conclusion. At first, it feels like Junpei is going to become a member of the main cast. He has a sad backstory, a connection with Yuji, and plenty of room to grow. Then Mahito kills him. Just like that, no last-minute rescue, no power-up, no miracle. And for the first time, Yuji experiences true helplessness. The final battle between Yuji and Mahito is fantastic, showing not only Yuji's growth as a fighter, but also his determination to keep moving forward despite failure. Nanami's teamwork with Yuji is another highlight and remains one of the best mentor-student dynamics in the series. The reason this arc ranks so highly is because it raises the stakes dramatically. It proves that JJK isn't afraid to hurt its characters and introduces one of the greatest villains in modern shonen. Overall, I'm giving the V's Mahito arc an 8.5 out of 10. Great character development, an incredible villain, emotional moments, and some fantastic fights make this one of the strongest arcs in early Jujutsu Kaisen. Now we get the Kyoto Goodwill event, which introduces us to many important characters, especially Todo, Mechamaru, and the Goat Miwa. This arc was really good, especially in terms of pacing and fighting aspect, and when Hanami comes in and crashes the whole event, everything becomes more intense. Now this arc did feel good not only because of Todo and Yuji's duo, but also because of all the other characters it introduced, but that duo would be the main highlight of this arc, as we will see more of them in the later arcs. Hanami as a villain was mid, to be honest, as she never really posed any major threat, as she was only meant to be a distraction. And when Gojo comes to the scene, it was already over for her, but I was surprised to see that she survived. Well, I will rate this arc as an 8/10 arc together with the training arc. Next up we have the Death Painting arc, also known as the Origin of Obedience arc. Now this arc is often overlooked because it's sandwiched between the Kyoto Goodwill event and some of the biggest arcs in the entire series. But make no mistake, this arc is absolutely fantastic. The story follows Yuji, Nobara, and Megumi as they investigate a series of mysterious deaths connected to cursed wombs and Sukuna's fingers. What starts as a routine mission quickly turns into a nightmare. For Megumi, this arc is especially important. We learn more about his sister, Tsumiki, and the reason he became a sorcerer in the first place. For the first time, we see Megumi push beyond his limits and stop holding himself back. His fight against the Finger Bearer is one of the biggest highlights of the arc. Instead of playing it safe, Megumi finally embraces risk and unlocks Chimera Shadow Guard, his domain expansion. Seeing him achieve a domain this early in the story was an incredible moment and showed just how much potential he truly has. But that's not all. The second half of the arc gives us one of the most underrated fights in JJK, Yuji, and Nobara versus Iso and Kechizu. This battle perfectly showcases the chemistry between Yuji and Nobara. The simultaneous Black Flash and Resonance attack was absolutely beautiful, and remains one of the most satisfying finishes in the series. The only reason this arc isn't ranked higher is because it's relatively short and doesn't have the same emotional weight as the arcs that follow. Still, the character development, fights, and memorable moments make it one of the strongest arcs in early Jujutsu Kaisen. Overall, I'm giving the Death Painting arc an 8.5 out of 10. Great action, fantastic development for Megumi and Nobara, and one of the best team fights in the entire first season. Well, that was it for Season 1. I will try to make a second part. Until then, goodbye.